What's happening? I'm Isaiah Coleman, and this is Fatherhood Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm really excited. I want to ask you this question before we even dive into our topic, but I got to ask you this question. How often do you pause, take a breath, and think about how you respond to a conflict with your child, a conflict with your wife, your spouse, your girlfriend? How often do you do that? Well, if you're anything like me, it's taken a lot of time, it's taken a lot of practice, it's taken a lot of just trial and error for me to pause at times when I feel myself get frustrated, when my kids are doing something they don't have no business doing, when they're putting themselves in harm's way. Maybe my wife and I may not be seeing eye to eye on something, and it's taken me time to really be tactful, strategic, and mindful about how I respond and how I react. Now, I'm not saying, I don't feel like I even need to give this disclaimer, but I'm not saying that I blow my lid or I get super loud and expletives and all this, that, and the third. But sometimes I'm not as receptive as I'd like to be, or I'm not the best collaborator as I could be. And that's just me being honest and me being real about it. But I think one thing that my kids, especially my kids, have taught me, it's patience. It's taking your time. It's learning how to be empathetic with them. Be empathetic with anybody, honestly, with any conflict or any issues that arise, right? Whenever you see or whenever you're not seeing eye to eye with somebody, right? So I just say that to say, fathers, when you're interacting with your children, it's so much more important for you to take that extra second and really ask yourself that question, like, yo, how do I want to respond in this moment? Right? Not just drilling into them and beating into them in that moment, but thinking about the long term, thinking about like, man, if I respond to this in the wrong way, this may come back to haunt me later on when I need my son to open up and share what's going on with them, or my daughter and share what's going on with her. So if you approach conflict, if you approach those moments where it's like, like y'all could easily do something wrong right now, right? Something could break. You may hurt yourself and break something. Who knows? It's so important that we just take that moment to pause. Take a deep breath and evaluate all the options that we have afforded to us before we just pounce, before we just let it all out, before we just erupt, right? I hope this is helpful to a father, a husband, or leader. Whenever you're encountering these types of moments, keep in mind that you are there to partner. You are there to love. You are there to give another example or perspective that maybe our children, maybe our wives, maybe anybody that we're interacting, fathers, anybody that we're interacting with, giving them another perspective on how to approach problems, conflicts, and situations that, quite frankly, we don't like or we may not enjoy. So I hope this is helpful. Again, I'm Isaiah Coleman. This is Fatherhood Friday. Take that pause, take that deep breath. If you're into this type of stuff, like, follow, subscribe. And until next time, tune in for next week's episode. All right. Peace out.